business manager for the small business programs within the Montgomery County Office of Procurement. And I'd like to welcome you to the fourth session of our virtual procurement fair. This event is being recorded for use on our website and also on our social media accounts. So we ask that you please mute yourself during the duration of this presentation. This event is also, like I said, it's being hosted by Montgomery County Office of Procurement. And so I'd just like to take this moment to introduce some of my colleagues from the Office of Procurement. I believe we have Sarah McCrae, who's a procurement specialist in the office. We also have Sam Flood with us. He's also a procurement specialist. And I believe we have Renata Vasilov, who's also a procurement specialist. Besides that, we have Grace Deno. She's the division chief for the Division of Business Relations and Compliance. I believe we have also Pam Jones, who is the division chief for the Office of Procurement on the operations side. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. This is the final session of today, session 4, and the topic is administrative and professional services. As far as just some minor housekeeping things as we get started here, if you do have any questions, we ask that you put them in the chat box during the presentations. Hopefully we can get those answered relatively quickly. And if not, we're going to try to set aside some time after all the presenters have given their presentations, and we'll go ahead and answer questions that way. We have 5 departments here scheduled today. We're going to start off with the Department of Police, followed by the Office of Procurement, Division of Business Relations and Compliance. Then we're going to move on to Office of Human Resources, followed by Health and Human Services, and finally Fire and Rescue. So like I said, if you have any questions during the presentation, please make sure that you go ahead and put those in the chat box and we will get those answered. So without any further ado, we're going to get right to it. And first up, we have the Department of Police.
Hello, my name is Patricia Ross, and I'm the procurement manager for the police department. We manage contracts in support of over 1,700 police sworn and unsworn staff. Some of our contract administrators are listed below. As you can see, we have Andrea and Allie, who work on our contract team. Trantino Norwood is our supply manager. Ryan Matson is with ECC, which is the Emergency Communications Center. Kathy LaDonna manages our Information and Technology Program contracts. And Jennifer Bro is the Acting Crime Lab Director right now, managing those contracts. What we're looking for in vendors are those vendors who can reliably provide supplies and services to meet our law enforcement and public safety program goals at competitive prices. We're looking for people who are people and organizations who are experienced in providing goods and services at police that support our police program goals and our services, and who are registered on the county's vendor database, and the link is there. I would encourage everyone that would like to establish a contract with not only the police but other county agencies to register on that website. We are also seeking vendors who are qualified as vendors and in good standing with the Maryland Department of Assessment and Taxation. Please advance the slide. We have one major RFP that will be going on this year in conjunction with HHS, and I will let Ryan Matson with ECC explain that to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Matson, and as Patty said, I work for the county's 911 center, and we are looking at doing an RFP for the spring of 2021 for interpreter services. And what we're looking for in coordination with Health and Human Services, the Department of Fire Rescue, and other county departments is a contractor that can provide language services in any imaginable language that you possibly need, primarily for 911 translation. And so that would require 24/7, 365 service in verbal, written, online text, and video offerings. And these calls, these translations, once we initiate, would have to be answered in 10 seconds or less for our 911 calls, because time is of the essence for those calls, and seconds matter, so we can't really wait a long period of time to have their emergency translated into English. And you must be specifically trained to handle 911 emergency dialogue, and also you have to prioritize the 911 calls on top of the other calls that other departments may require that may not be of an emergency. And the contractor would also have to have built a fault-tolerant telephone and network system with no single points of failure. As our 911 center is built, we can't possibly go down even for a second. So that's the same type of thinking that we require for this contractor to make sure we have the proper services for the residents and visitors of Montgomery County. So that's a quick snapshot of the RFP that will be going out.
Advance the slide, please. So some other services and goods that we will be requiring, and this is normally done using an informal method of solicitation. We have dog kenneling services that we are always interested in knowing who out there can handle police work dogs. This is not for the faint of heart, I must tell you. This responsibility is a very heavy one, as you can imagine. So there are not many vendors that can fulfill this need, but we are very interested in knowing if there are any in Montgomery County who can fulfill this need, and there will be a solicitation going out for that coming up in the next few months. We also routinely advertise for police supplies and uniforms. We are always looking for individuals who can provide all kinds of gear, equipment, leather goods, embroidery services for public safety and for our department, both sworn and non-sworn members of the department. So we have a lot of uniform needs in that regard. For our IT services, we typically use the county's IT commodities contractors. And I believe that may have been discussed in an earlier presentation. But we are always interested in talking to vendors who have out-of-the-box ideas and services that they may be able to offer us in the way of software or other solutions for public safety programs. We will be issuing an IFB coming up for motorcycle repair in early 2021. Currently, our fleet of motorcycles are Harley-Davidson motorcycles. We also have an ongoing need for cleaning of police vehicles and sometimes police interview rooms. Bicycle repair, we have a fleet of bicycles that the police department maintains, those bicycles are always in need of repair. We looked at them as being police vehicles, just like our automotive vehicles. We also have a need for on-site document shredding services. Our requirements here must meet FBI requirements that document shredding be done on-site with a police employee present during the shredding process. Forensic supplies. We are always interested in talking to vendors who can provide competitive pricing for forensic supplies, and this would include things such as pipettes, swabs, all sorts of things that are needed in the forensic field, including PPE. Laboratory and testing supplies, similar to the forensic supplies, we're looking for vendors to supply those at competitive pricing. And our supply division normally deals with our first aid supplies and equipment. But because of COVID, we are having supply problems, and it's very good to know who in the county is able to provide these supplies on a quick turnaround basis at competitive pricing. And last but not least is batteries. We are always looking for batteries. We have a high consumption rate of batteries, and we will be looking for vendors who can provide bulk pricing at competitive pricing for bulk buying of batteries. And that's it for police right now. But if you have any questions, you're welcome to give me a call or email me. I'd be happy to answer any questions about what we purchase and when we'll be purchasing it. And that's it for police.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Patricia. Next, we're going to move on to Grace Steno with the Division of Business Relations and Compliance. But before we have Grace come in, I just wanted to acknowledge Karen DeLuca. She is also procurement specialist, senior procurement specialist within the Office of Procurement, and she's actually really active in the chat right now. So I missed her on the first go around. So I just wanted to acknowledge Karen being here. Like I said, this time we're going to move on to Grace Steno with Division of Business Relations and Compliance.
Thank you, Michael. I'm Grace Steno. I'm the Division Chief of Business Relations and Compliance within the Office of Procurement. This slide just gives you a overall of our procurement organization chart, so that you see procurement actually is a pretty small department compared with some of these larger departments you have met today. So for my portion, I'm only going to talk about the needs that the Office of Procurement, especially my division's needs for contracting opportunities. I'm not talking about the county-wide enterprise type of procurements. So from this org chart, you can see that procurement, our director is Ash Shetty, and we have two divisions. On the left-hand side, you see a larger division that is managed by Division Chief Pam Jones. And all the procurement specialists are under her operations division. And on the right-hand side, you see the business relations and compliance division. That is my division. And we handle all the contract compliance programs, including all the programs related to local, small, minority-owned businesses, as well as some wage programs that we enforce for the county. We also manage the vendor relations and vendor registrations and certifications for the county. Next slide, please. So in general, we have just a few contract needs. We don't have a big list as big as the DGS or DOT, but since our division handles all the compliance programs, so we do have needs for contracts with business compliance program consulting services or enforcement monitoring services for our wage programs or minority or local small business programs. We also need auditing services to assist us to look at people's payroll records. We do have one wage auditing services contract coming up. Currently, we have one auditing firm doing our wage requirements law enforcement. We have a program manager who looks at people's wage reports. We have about 500 plus contractors who are subject to our wage requirements law. We receive their wage reports on a quarterly basis. So when we go through them, if there's any question or a problem we want to go into more details, then we will have our auditing services to go to that contractor and look at their payroll records. So we would like to find a local small auditing firm helping us to do that services. That solicitation will be coming out in the coming year. Also, we do marketing and outreach. For example, today's event is hosted by our division. So we sometimes will need some help in terms of marketing and outreach. So the qualifications we usually look for from our contractors, because we are enforcing these local laws and the regulations, we would need the vendors to be familiar with, or at least have knowledge of, Montgomery County's laws and regulations related to local small minority businesses. Next slide, please. So a little bit more on the auditing services. Currently, we do have one firm, but we would like to find another firm or even another two local small businesses so that we can have a rotation among these auditing firms to look at people's, look at the contractor employees' wage reports. And we will be reserving that under the local small business. This firm does not have to be a CPA firm, as long as they are familiar with auditing people's payroll reports that will qualify to respond to this solicitation. We also have a services need for compliance assistance to assist us to look at people's vendor registration and their certification requirements, look through their documents to make sure they are in compliance with our laws and regulations. Currently, we have a contractor that is under the county's LCATS group, which our first IT session talked about. So our current plan is to use the next LCATS awardee, one of the awardees, to maintain this service. However, if the new awardees from LCATS do not satisfy our requirement, then we may go out as a new solicitation to find assistance services for our division. And again, if we do send a solicitation, then it will be reserved also under the local small business reserve program. Next slide, please. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Grace, for the information. Moving on, we're going to keep this rolling. And next up, we have the Office of Human Resources. I believe it's Jenna Shovlin.
Yes, thank you, Michael. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jenna Shovlin, and I'll be sharing some information with you today about the Office of Human Resources. And I'll start off with our mission, which is to foster excellence in people by providing quality human resources services to our employees, partners, and the community. Next slide. As I mentioned, my name is Jenna Shovlin. I'm the Division Chief for the Administrative Services Division within OHR. My division oversees all contracts that are owned by the Office of Human Resources. And generally, the capabilities that we're looking for out of our contractors vary based on the type of services. But because the Office of Human Resources operates within a heavily regulated environment, the contracts that we execute typically will require some level of expertise with respect to human resource business processes and an understanding of the county's regulations and county code, as well as the collective bargaining law. Contract areas that we have covering include the following. We have occupational classification studies, entry-level and promotional exam services for public safety departments. We have division that's dedicated to health and welfare that oversees our wellness program, our health benefits programs, and our stress management programs. Our occupational medical services section, which is actually also a part of administrative services, is part of OHR. And we also have lab services that are connected directly to OCMED. And we also have services related to multilingual testing, which falls under our recruitment section. Next slide, please. We don't have too much coming up in the very near future. We are looking at going out to bid for a stress management system to support the stress management team, which is a small team that's comprised of 2 people within health and welfare that provide direct level support to the police department and families. We are also interested in going out for an applicant tracking and talent acquisition system. However, that is going to be completely contingent upon funding because we don't have funds at the present time, but we are seeking approval for funding in FY22. So based on how the budget process happens, we may or may not have funding available for this solicitation. So that's about it for us. If there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly, email it through email, or you can certainly give me a call as well. And I'll load my information into the chat right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. We appreciate the information. Next, we're going to be moving on to Health and Human Services.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, everyone. My name is IJ Oji. I'm with the Health and Human Services within the county, and I am happy to be here. Thank you for the Office of Procurement for inviting us to join in for this trade show. It's my first one, and it's been an amazing day so far. I've absolutely grasped so much information from the other presenters. With me today, I have two members of my team joining in. I have Phil Roystein and Donna Podisk as well. They will be presenting later in this later on the slides for HHS. But I just want to take a moment to do some introductions about HHS in general and tell you a little bit about who we are if you don't already know us, the types of services that we provide. And then I will let Phil and Donna go into the upcoming solicitations that HHS is planning on having for FY22. Again, my name is IJ Oji, and thanks for inviting us. Michael, next slide, please. Thank you very much. Here you have HHS's mission. Our mission for this department is to promote and ensure the health and safety of the residents of Montgomery County and to build individual and family strength and self-sufficiency, right? Our department is the largest in the county government, and we are responsible for public health and human services that address the needs of the county's most vulnerable children, adults, and seniors. And our core services protect the community's health. We protect the health and safety of at-risk children and vulnerable adults. And we also address the basic health needs, including food, shelter, and clothing. Thank you, Michael, for moving on to the next slide. I'd like to tell you a little bit about HHS in general. No, back to the previous slide, please. Previous slide, please, Michael. In general, about HHS, right? HHS has about 1,600 or so employees within HHS. We serve roughly 100,000 individuals within Montgomery County per year. And we have 20 plus delivery locations across the county. And this does not include all of our delivery locations, which are in all of our public schools. HHS also has roughly 660 plus contracts, and 164 of these are community grants. Thank you, Michael. Next slide now. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our core service areas and the programs that fall within HHS. Because HHS is so large, I'm not sure that folks know that our core services are actually split into service areas and that you have designated individuals, program monitors, contract managers assigned to those core service areas. I'd just like to take a moment to break that down for everyone. As you see here in our org chart, our core service areas are children, youth, and family services, aging and disabilities, behavioral health, public health, services to end and prevent homelessness, and then Office of Community Affairs, and then where my team and I fall, which is the Chief of Operating Officer. And under there, you'll see that the contracts team fall under there. The children, youth, and family services, their services include early childhood services for 0 to 5 years of age. That includes school-age children, teens, child protective services, etc. For aging and disability services, their service is to provide access to those programs for seniors and persons with disabilities. They provide services for abuse, neglect, violence, older adults, caregiver support, financial assistance, health and mental health services. For the behavioral health core service area. Their services focus on, again, abuse and neglect and violence also, but then specifically behavioral health and substance abuse services. For the public health services, as you know, Dr. Travis Gales has been on the news lately due to the pandemic. So this is an incredibly busy and active service area right now with a lot of need. Their focus and their service primarily focuses on general health services, medical coverage, some behavioral health, substance abuse, school health services, and community health in general. And then we have services to end and prevent homelessness. Their core services focus on homeless shelters, case management, homeless services, food, housing, and energy assistance to the residents of Montgomery County. And then finally, our Office of Community Affairs, their service is more global, and this is all of the direct services through several programs. And then, as I mentioned, we fall under the Chief Operating Officer, and that office oversees all of HHS's budget, the compliance team, my fantastic team, the contracts management team, fiscal, and all other operations within HHS. Michael, next slide, please. Here, I'd like to talk about the folks who actually touch all the contracts within HHS. So I'm privileged to work for a fantastic team of 10 individuals. I make the 11th. We coordinate all of the contracting and procurement processes for the entire department. Again, I'm IJ Oji. I serve as HHS's contract administrator. I can't say enough about my team. Again, we manage over 670 at this point, I believe, contracts. And these are the names of all the individuals who touch each and every one of those contracts. There is a senior contract manager assigned to each service area, and I'll just mention their names. We have Larry, who manages all the contracts for Aging and Disability Services. Tanya manages all of the contracts for Children, Youth, and Family Services. Phil is a technical advisor, meaning that he provides all of the technical assistance and supports for all complex contract needs and reporting needs to those two service areas, Aging and Disability Services and Children, Youth, and Family Services. Nola Song recently joined our team, and she specifically oversees behavioral health and all of the community grants and anything county council related. And then I have Donna Podest, who is a technical advisor for the service areas of Director's Office, OCOO, Community Affairs, and then the individuals in that bucket under Donna, and they're Alexandra Zilkowski. She oversees the contracts for the Director's Office, OCOO, and Community Affairs. Greg Green oversees all the contracts under Services to End and Prevent Homelessness, which we reference as SEF. And then Amanda Abbey over Public Health Services. So these are all the fantastic individuals behind the scenes who work near 24/7, 365 days to make sure all of our contract actions are well written and they get into the vendor's hands in a timely manner. Next slide, please. I'm sure many individuals who've presented before me have mentioned the best way for vendors to make sure that they are registered with the county to provide business and provide services with the county. You have to make sure that you're registered. You have to make sure that you are in CVRS, and then you have to check SSTAT to make sure that you are in good standing. What I'd like to mention is that in addition to all of those, we'd like for you to make sure that if you're a newly registered business, you want to make sure that the same way that you were registered in SSTAT is the same way that you want to register yourself in CVRS. If there is a disconnect between those two, the names don't match up, that could cause a delay in us being able to execute your contract, because we will need for those two names to match. So if you have a "the" in front of your business name or an LLC, and that does not reflect in CVRS, there will be some delay in while we wait for you to correct those two things. For HHS, all of our solicitations can be found on our website, and I've put in the link there so that you can go there and see everything that we have listed. And I know that procurement wanted to talk globally about what HHS searches for in a vendor. In the upcoming slides, Phil and Donna will talk specifically about the solicitations that HHS has, and you'll find that HHS has a multitude of solicitations. Some of them are goods, some of them are services, but specifically what we're searching for when we're looking for a vendor is a vendor who has knowledge of the particular service that we are soliciting for. We're looking for a vendor who is fair and reasonable in their pricing. We do take time to do a price analysis, a market survey. We are looking to make sure that the vendor is financially stable. What we don't want to do is set you up for failure. So when you submit your packet and we review it and we interview you, we do want to look at your financials to make sure that you are financially stable and that we don't execute a contract and in less than a year, you are struggling to succeed. We also want to make sure that you do have a proven track record in this particular solicitation that we've put out. We want to see that you've done this business in the past, you have experience and knowledge, and the packet that you submit can speak to all of this. In addition, we're looking to make sure that your organization has experience working for that targeted population. We're looking to see that you have explored best practices out there to make your program design successful. We're looking for innovation. We're looking for creativity when you submit your solicitation. We're also looking to see that how are you going to staff this contract, right? Once you, if you are awarded the contract, do you have a plan for staffing? Do you have a plan for retention of excellent staff? Great vendors thrive when good staff remain. We want to see evidence that your staff will remain and that you don't have this revolving door of new staff coming in all the time, or that you have vacancies posted and no one fully occupying those positions. Again, as I mentioned, we want to see that the cost proposal that you have submitted is commensurate with the level of service to be provided. We want to see a clear budget that outlines all of your proposed budget. And I think I've also mentioned about your organization and program design. We want you to be able to clearly state your organizational plan to provide the proposed services. And we want to make sure that you are able to achieve HHS's program measures at the end of the day. So I think that basically summarizes what HHS would be searching for globally when we're looking for a vendor. Each solicitation is unique, so there might be additional qualifications or additional specialized need for each of those solicitations when we drill down to the minutia for each of those solicitations. Next slide, please. And at this point, I'd like to call the fantastic Phil Roystein to talk about the solicitations that the core area of aging and disabilities currently, well, that we are looking to solicit pending all the budget approvals that will be coming our way. Thank you all so much, and we're looking forward to your questions.
Thanks, IJ. So this is just a very brief overview of some of our upcoming solicitations. We do have a significant number, but just to give everyone kind of an idea of what we're looking at this year. The first one is a representative payee services program, where HHS is looking for a contractor to recruit, screen, and train volunteers to provide banking, bill pay, and finance tracking for clients who are physically or mentally unable to keep track of their expenses. The next RFP is for a senior health insurance program, otherwise known as SHIP. And the department's looking for a contractor to provide a SHIP program to Montgomery County seniors and disabled adults and the program would include health insurance counseling, enrollment guidance and assistance, and problem resolution pertaining to health benefits attainment through Medicare and other private and public sources. Next, we have grocery shopping for seniors, and the department's looking for a contractor to provide a program to address the needs of seniors by helping to obtain groceries, prescriptions, and other necessities commonly available in grocery stores. The next one we have is a home care program, where HHS is looking for a contractor to provide home health aid services. And those services consist of personal care services, chore services, and certified medication technician services to aging and disability clients. Then we have a respite care services program, where we're looking for a contractor to provide a system of respite care services that are provided to elderly clients or people with severe disabilities or challenging behaviors. And these services are short-term, state-regulated care services that are intended to enable family to stay together and to keep the child or adult living in his or her home. And lastly, for aging and disabilities, we have a case management program where we're looking for a contractor to provide social work case management services to county referred adult clients to build, sustain, and augment the adults' support systems. So those are the aging and disabilities solicitations we're looking at. Next slide, please. And now our behavioral health and crisis services solicitations. First one here is the women's halfway services, where we're looking for a contractor to assist with the provision of community-based substance use disorder treatment services that are targeting the needs of adult women who have mild to moderate substance use and/or co-occurring disorders. The county, with the support of additional local funds, provided a clinically managed low-intensity residential level 3.1 halfway health program. And the next solicitation is a recovery-oriented systems of care. And in this one, the county's looking for a provider to provide a intensive outpatient level 2.1 and or a outpatient level 1 substance use disorder treatment services program. And next is the wellness and recovery services. The HHS is looking for a contractor to develop and maintain a recovery support services program in the Montgomery County community. This program would promote recovery among adults with substance abuse, mental health, and or co-occurring disorders by offering resources, information, advocacy, and support to individuals, their families, and the wider community that is Montgomery County. And next is our outpatient mental health services program. We're looking for a contractor to provide counseling services for domestic abuse offenders, which we refer to as the Abuser Intervention Program. And then also a contractor to provide counseling services for victims, which is our Abused Persons Program. And we're looking for a contractor to provide those services to residents of the county. And then the last one is the Intensive In-Home Services Child Stabilization Program, where we are seeking experienced and qualified entities to develop and implement a program of intensive in-home services for children with emotional disorders. The program will include supports such as assessment, therapy, service planning, and referrals to community resources. And so that is all of the behavioral health solicitations. If you'd go to the next slide, I believe Donna Potisk is going to be talking about the next batch from Community Affairs Director's Office and the Office of the COO.
Yes, that's correct. These are upcoming solicitations for Community Affairs Director's Office and Office of the Chief Operating Officer. The first one listed there is our Latino Youth Wellness Program. And for that program, we're looking for a contractor who will be able to promote awareness of health-related issues and solutions among low-income families living in neighborhoods of significant economic risk. The specific health areas that we're looking to be addressed in that program include adolescent pregnancy prevention, HIV, STD prevention, encouraging physical activity, nutrition and mental health in education and information, as well as substance abuse prevention. The next solicitation we are hoping to issue is for the African American Health Program. And the purpose of that program is to address the health disparities among African American populations, to include addressing infant mortality, maternal health, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, HIV/AIDS, mental health, and aging issues. Our next solicitation that we're hoping to issue is the Multilingual Health Navigation Telephone Line and Interpretation RFP. The purpose of this program will be to provide interpretation services to language minority residents with the goal of improving access to health care for low-income residents of the county. And the next one we have, and this one's for, I believe, the Chief Operating Officer, is the Cost Allocation Planning and Random Moment Time Study Program. And we're seeking a contractor to provide a cost allocation plan and random moment time study for employees that are included in the cost pool for federal financial participation under Title 19 of the Social Security Act. Next slide, please. Michael, next slide. We're moving on to services to end and prevent homelessness. That we are seeking for these solicitations, the rapid rehousing for young adult head of households program. The purpose of this program is to provide rapid rehousing services for up to 24 months to assist young adult head of households to obtain and maintain 12-month rental leases. Services include case management and the development of individual service plans for the clients. The next solicitation is for single adult transitional shelters. And we are seeking under that RFP a contract to provide transitional housing to homeless men and women, including the provision of case management and individual housing plans. We also have our Progress Place Living Quarters RFP, and the purpose of that RFP program is to find a contractor to provide for the operation of a comprehensive program of affordable, permanent, and supportive housing for 21 homeless adults with children at, without children at 80106 Georgia Avenue. Services for that program include case management services to assist clients to access services and maintain housing. And our final RFP is the Homeless Outreach Program, and that is to provide outreach services to a minimum of 150 homeless persons aged 18 years or older without accompanying children. And those services also include outreach and engagement services, case management services, needs assessments, and linkages to additional services these clients may need. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I guess we are out of time for HHS. I did have a couple that were not mentioned. Public Health has two small solicitations. Well, they have one informal solicitation coming up for medical grade oxygen and nitrous for the dental clinics. And they also do have an RFP coming up for a countywide survey to collect data on health status for county residents. So those are two that Public Health is looking for as well.
Yeah, and I believe there is one also for Child, Youth, and Family Services, and that is it's an informal for an infant and toddler auditory program, I believe.
Right,
And I apologize.
Pediatric audiology services for the infants and toddlers program.
Right. Thank you both. And that concludes the presentation from HHS, and we look forward to any questions that you have. Again, feel free to contact me directly if you have any questions regarding any of our solicitations. And I believe my email address is somewhere a few slides back. Right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you, IJ, Phil, and Donna. That was a lot of good information and a lot of opportunities coming up for individuals to actually compete here in Montgomery County. But just to jump in on the end of your presentation there, because I know a lot of your opportunities are geared toward nonprofit organizations in the county. And so I just wanted to bring up the passing of the LSBRP Amendments Bill 3919 that was earlier this year. And what that bill did is it actually allowed us to welcome nonprofit organizations into being local small businesses with the county. In the past, they were not permitted to participate. So with the passing of 3919, nonprofit organizations are encouraged and welcome to register in our vendor database and also fill out the application to become local small business. So that way you can be in a position where you are only going to be competing with other local small businesses. It's going to be set aside some of those possible opportunities. But we plan on having a push early next year to try to really reach out to the nonprofits within the county to make sure that you guys are up to speed and you're registered, and we can get you guys certified for local small business. I'm really excited about that in the near future coming up. The last program department that we have is Fire and Rescue Services. They're going to tell us about the overview of their organization and some of their upcoming opportunities. I believe we have Steve Lampier.
Yes, thank you, Michael. Good afternoon. So I am a senior manager in fire rescue. I'm one of the contract administrators. My primary role is as the fleet manager in fire rescue, but I am doing the presentation for fire rescue. I've been with fire rescue for a really long time and know the organization really well, so I should be able to answer any questions at the end of this. So we're an organization of 2,700 personnel, both career and volunteer members. Certainly our primary mission is fire and EMS. About 80% of our 120,000 calls per year are EMS related, but we also have programs such as our community outreach programs, specifically home safety, smoke alarms, child safety child safety car seats, senior outreach, which I think is what I'm going to talk about a little bit in more detail in a minute. And we also do fire safety programs in schools and throughout the summer in various camp programs. So we have 35 fire stations throughout the county, an additional 5 work locations that are in support functions, and a budget of about $230 million. And the vast majority of that budget is personnel. I have the next slide. May I get the next slide? Oh, there it is. Sorry, bit slow. We purchase a wide variety of goods and services, everything from fire apparatus, ambulances, all the way to Band-Aids and office supplies. But in our fire stations, we have washers, dryers, kitchen appliances, exercise equipment, etc. So we make purchases in all those areas using the IFBs, RFPs, informal purchases, mini contracts, etc. And we do make an effort to use the county's local small business program, and we also work with other county departments. I just heard HHS mention medical oxygen, and there will be a medical oxygen solicitation coming out soon. That's an example, one of the joint solicitations we do with other departments. Next slide. So may I ask the Office of Procurement for a clarification? I know this section is for professional services, and some of these items we covered in the previous presentation. I'm glad to go through them both. What would the Office of Procurement like me to do?
Steve, I think you should just go through each of them.
Okay.
And then add the ones that you said weren't in the slides.
Okay. So medical grade oxygen, like I said, that's one we just talked about. And that includes both police and HHS. That will be an IFB. The senior fire safety education and outreach. So I know this falls under professional services. Basically, this is a contract employee that has expertise in dealing with senior citizens, training them, and we also that program also works with both fire and injury prevention with seniors. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in the chat that talks more specifically about some of the functions about what that office does. But I know it's been a very successful program for us and pretty widely recognized, I believe. Other items, like I said, washers and dryers, boat motors. So we have a flotilla on the Potomac River. We have about 30 boats, and those boats need motors, parts, maintenance, etc. HVAC water treatment service, that will be an IFB. That particular one, I do not have any details about. That's on the facility side. And again, glad to give my contact information for any questions about any of these, and I will get it to the right people. Back to boats again, those 30-some boats, they're all inflatable boats. We replace them periodically, so we will have an IFB for those boats. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are a few items that I covered earlier that are not on the presentation, and most of those items relate to a lot of what I do as a fleet manager for goods. So not only does the fleet deal with vehicles, ambulances, fire trucks, etc., we're also responsible for all the small tools that are in that we carry on the fire trucks. everything from toolboxes to water coolers to axes, etc. We will be doing an IFB for hand and power tools in 2021. On the fleet maintenance side, we'll be doing an IFB for coolant. We primarily use organic acid technology coolant, but there are a few others we use, and that will likely be a joint procurement with other agencies. And we will be doing a solicitation for batteries, automotive batteries. We'll be doing a solicitation for starters and alternators, and that's something that Fleet Management Services already has. The difference is, for reliability, we buy new starters and alternators, so we'll have to do our own solicitation for those. We will be doing a solicitation for tires. That will be to a company that can provide Goodyear or Michelin tires with government pricing, but local service. And then finally, we will be doing a IFB or maybe multiple IFBs for automotive parts. And when I say automotive, I don't mean cars, but that's the term for any vehicle part. And that will be a percentage off list price type IFB. So for example, Meritor brake parts, that will be a line item and it will be a percentage off there. Some of the other presenters gave really good points about ensuring you're a registered vendor and ensuring you are also registered with the correct commodity codes. So when the Office of Procurement does send out solicitations, you are in receipt of those solicitations. And I'm happy to take any questions. I do see one. How is firefighters' mental health or mental wellness handled? So we do have a staff clinical social worker, I believe, LCSW, and we also have a staff psychologist. Beyond that, if I put my contact information in, if you'd like some more information, I can get that for you, because that's another area. We're such a large organization. That's another area that I'm certainly not an expert in. So I'll put my name in, and please send me an email.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. That was very informative, and we appreciate the information. We have a few minutes here. Are there any other additional questions, not only for Steve, but any of the other contract administrators from the other departments? Check the chat now and see what we have. Let me see. How does the county procure administrative support? Is it based on the individual agency, or is there an IDIQ for the entire county? Is someone from OHR? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is Pam. Jenna can answer. If not, I'm also including, I'm in the middle of typing something in the chat to let them know.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was too. So we
go ahead, Jenna.
I'm sorry. We actually just posted and closed an RFP for temporary administrative support that also included paraprofessional support as well, and it was done through the local small business. But it's a good question, because it is administrative support is up to departments. Many departments have administrative support at FTEs or positions that are assigned to them, but in instances where they may need temporary support because someone got hurt or they go out on leave, they'll utilize our contract for those services. But like I said, we literally just closed that RFP, I want to say 2 weeks ago.
Thank you. Okay. Also, while we still have time here, I want to make sure that everyone looks in the chat and fills out the survey for today's session number 4. Take the time to go ahead and let us know what we did well today. What are some things we may need to work on? in the future to better serve you, to make sure that you're getting the most out of these opportunities here at Montgomery County. I see we have a few more questions. We were actually due to end at 2:45, but I think maybe we can get some of these questions in. Is advertising, marketing? Okay, it looks like Pam has already answered that in the chat. Are there any additional questions at this time? Looks like we're all set here. I think that's going to conclude this session 4. I just want to give a special thanks to all the contract administrators from the different departments that presented today. You guys did an excellent job. Also want to give a hand to all the procurement staff and department folks who were working the chat boxes. I think we did an excellent job of getting a lot of those questions answered in a very timely fashion. Also want to give a huge shout out to Sharonda Baltimore and also Bethany Menembo. They were kind of behind the scenes and making sure that all the technical aspects and really doing a lot of the heavy lifting that helped us to have a successful event today. And actually, Bethany, our outreach manager, she was very instrumental in putting all of this together, all the moving parts from the beginning when Ash asked her to put this event forward. So I think Bethany definitely deserves a huge hand along with Sharonda Baltimore. So I just want to thank you ladies for doing all that you can. And if there are no more questions, we will conclude. I hope this was informative to the vendors who took time out of their afternoons to join us. And if there are any additional questions, always feel free to reach out to the Office of Procurement. We're always there to lend a helping hand and to always be there for you guys. So thank you for attending.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.